Welcome to Leaders of Tomorrow Masterclass, a series of conversations that we do on our digital platforms, inviting you, the SME, MSME, and startup to be front and center and asking the questions live to our expert panelists. I'm Sunanda Jayaseelan, and tonight we're bringing you part one of that exclusive that we did on our masterclass, talking about Budget Anew, the impact of Budget 2022 on India's small businesses, what you can look forward to for the rest of the year. What are the jobs? Where are the jobs? And how can you be prepared for that? All of that being discussed in part one tonight. Let me introduce our experts. P. Balaji, Chairman, ASSOCHAM National Council on Digital Communications. Vineet Agarwal, Managing Director of TCI and President of ASSOCHAM. And V.S. Parthasarathy, Vice Chairman, All Cargo Logistics. I want to kick this off by very briefly, perhaps we can get 10, 20 seconds by way of opening comments, asking you what you really thought of the announcements that we've heard for, your specific areas of interest. I know you look at multiple sectors, but let's kick this off by talking about a few things. And then, we can do a deep dive in terms of what it means for investment, for job creation, and for growth for MSMEs and SMEs. Balaji, could I perhaps come to you first? Because there was so much by way of announcements as far as the digital and the technology space was concerned. The digital rupee, of course, we could perhaps discuss that a little bit more in detail. 5G spectrum auctions, digital banking being identified as one key focus area, e-passports, MSMEs being linked to the Udham e-Shram portal, PLI scheme for wearables, hearables, etc. Lots being announced. But first and foremost, maybe one or two lines as a key takeaway from you by way of opening comments.
I think two things. A lot of consistency in what the government set as a target a couple of years ago when they spoke about a 5 trillion economy and a 1 trillion digital economy. And this budget absolutely pushed the envelope in terms of making it a reality. And therefore, a lot of focus on digital this year. You spoke about some of the initiatives. As you said, if it's a two-sentence statement, I'll say extremely positive and bullish about what steps were announced right now, and we'll take it up as we do a deep dive.
Lots of announcements as far as transport, as far as logistics, and the infrastructure space in the country is concerned. But would you go as far as saying bullish about the changes that have been announced in keeping with what we just heard from Balaji? Could I come to you first, Vineet?
Absolutely. I think, the trend that the finance minister has created in terms of a very transparent outlook, not only in the budget, but also what is planned for the economy as a whole, what is planned for the sectors as a whole. So I think the last few years, the trend is very clearly looking at growth. Even though we are coming out of a pandemic year and the challenges on whether it's the deficit or just social spending is very high. But just this amazing focus on infrastructure, which has we know that it's a 2 to 3 times multiplier effect on the economy. So clearly a very, very welcome and a sort of a game changer in many ways.
Welcome, game changer, and bullishness. Lots of very, starting this masterclass definitely on a positive note, Partha. So let me come to you, wearing, of course, your hat of All Cargo Logistics. Are you excited about some of the announcements that we've heard from the FM so far?
Very excited. I mean, often you cannot say with budget, it's always balanced. But this time the focus is on growth, growth drivers. And I think that's what it is. And for logistic, it has been an important budget. IMP is what you can tell. If you can expand the thing, it is integrated logistics, multimodal connectivity, and PM Gati Shakti plan. So if you add, this is the important things, all the three IMP actually augur very well, not just in terms of words, but also in terms of what actions can convey. So Parthasarathy is already done by the finance minister. Partha has to come. The Karmavir is out there. So very exciting.
Fantastic. In fact, we've started getting in some questions. Our first question is coming to us from Venkatesh Bhatt. Just a reminder for all of you who've logged in live for IDFC First Bank Presents Leaders of Tomorrow Masterclass, do send us the name of your company as well as the designation. That will help our panelists be able to answer your questions better and get a better flavor of your questions. Venkatesh Bhatt is saying, what will the increased spending on infrastructure mean as far as job creation is concerned in the short term? I just want to expand that and perhaps say short term as well as in the mid-term. Say in the next 2 to 5 years, what will this increased spending mean? I would like to come to both Partha and Vineet, but Balaji, if you want to jump in, please feel free as well. Partha, you first.
Basically, when you invest in expense, you get 1 for 1. So whatever you spend, you get, right? But when you make investments, it has a multiplier effect. I mean, I can turn it around, as it called, asset turns can be many times, and therefore ROC can be very high. So it is focused on ROC then rather than just profit. That's what these investment. What it means is it is the ability to do the boom loop for the organization. And I think that's what they are focused on. Okay, I'll just pause here and let Vineet come in, and maybe if required, I will come back.
So the broadly infrastructure spend that the government has envisioned is about 2.9% of India's GDP this year.
Yeah.
It's a very, very big number. And as Partha also said, and the multiplier effect is 2 to 3 times. So what it means is there are a number of jobs that get created because there are so many industries that get impacted directly and indirectly when infrastructure spending increases. So you take cement, steel, to equipment that is required for, let's say, building warehouses, or the earth moving equipment that you need, construction equipment that you need, cranes. So the multiplier effect is just very, very high. And so one way to really spend, or rather create jobs, was to give money directly to in the hands of people, which is like the Manrega scheme, etc. And the other way is to actually create something and then give those jobs, which automatically will have a lot of impact, not just in the short term, as was mentioned, but also in the long term.
I think I'll just add one small thing in this context. I think Vineet and Partha have covered it beautifully. The focus on optical fiber, and they're also talking about putting a lot of money into public-private partnership mode of getting fiber to all the villages by 2025. That's again infrastructure. It helps to create, should I say, digital highways that again have a multiplier effect when it comes to employment, or even for ensuring, as the Prime Minister and the Finance Minister have been talking about, providing urban type amenities and facilities to rural India.
So that's as far as rural India is concerned, but could we talk about an impact that we can see perhaps in urban India as well, as far as job creation is concerned, when it comes to increased infrastructure spending, the high-end jobs, perhaps, the jobs that are going to also require digital and technical skills for people to start upgrading themselves? Open to all three of you.
So just think, I mean, this is beautiful from that point of view. And let me just stay on the IMP, and then I will go and talk about the others, right? When you talk about integrated logistics, and you're talking about focusing of the government and bringing multimodal as well as various warehouses and this.
Yeah.
This all exists on the cuff of any city, right? On the outskirts of any city. So it has the huge benefit of getting the informal sector workers as well as the semi-rural also to come in and start getting engaged. Okay. Somebody, I'm just going to digress for a minute and say, somebody asked me that, how will household incomes or, farmer income double? I said, see, farmer income doubling is an old concept. We should now think of multiplying, or a household income. And if those people can come and work in this kind of environment, it can do. Similarly, take multimodal connectivity. Then you're talking about employing many different industries into the same thing, and this can again start. So this, in each part of the facet, has a lot of input that it comes. So urban benefits, because this is all in an urban setting, but it's not pure urban. This is really what Abdul Kalam talked about, urban, and it has a ability to bring urban into a big time play. Okay, and that's what I'm very excited about in just this thing. And if you add PM Gati Shakti, and if it takes up, all these things have a beautiful impact of making, see, what are we struggling with? Infrastructure. What is this addressing? Infrastructure. So there is a lot of things to be excited about, and for urban as well.
I think just the question was very specific to urban, and when we look at how does it impact urban jobs? The PM Gati Shakti program talks about multimodal connectivity. I'm just giving an example of multimodal connectivity. Means that if there is a metro, that metro is connected to a hub and spoke system of transportation. So there could be transport hubs along with it, which is leading to your homes getting connected ultimately. So what that means is that there is going to be infrastructure created for metros. You need jobs for that. You need infrastructure for the hubs and spokes. There could be electric vehicles that are running in that spokes. You need high-end people maybe at the metro stations, maybe as metro drivers. I mean, I'm just giving one example to show that kind of infrastructure can create so many jobs.
I'd just like to add a little bit as well. So there was an interesting thing. They talked about the Universal Service Obligation Fund that is collected by the government and putting 5% of that into R&D and innovation. To my mind, the areas that they spoke about around boosting artificial intelligence, geospatial systems, drones, semiconductor and space economy, genomics, green mobility and clean mobility. Those are again areas that are hugely going to help in terms of higher end skills, which is required. They spoke about digital university, right? So that's again an area where EdTech will get a lot of focus on. You mentioned, Sunanda, about the digital rupee. Then again, blockchain and related technologies has a role to play. And then likewise, if you look at the health program, and they talked about national telehealth, mental health program, and so on. So all of those elements, if we were to look at, also give a boost, like Vineet and Partha talked about, for urban India. So it's a bit forward-looking even from an urban skills and urban job creation point of view.
I'm going to take a quick break on that note. We're back in just a moment. Welcome back. You're with us here on Leaders of Tomorrow Masterclass. This question that's coming to us from Jaya says, will the inclusion of 5G in PLI be a real boost for MSMEs? I want to come to you, Balaji, but of course it's open to all three of our panelists today. First, you do, Balaji.
So I think absolutely. The answer is the short answer is yes. Okay. Reason, the whole 5G thing is about Industry 4.0. It's about tying up the whole ecosystem. So we as operators would end up rolling networks, but then those networks are best utilized when you're basically looking at enterprise solutions, when you're looking at solutions for smart governance, for smart cities, or for providing services of different kinds to end consumers. And there are about 1 billion plus people who are connected now on the mobile networks, of which about 750 million are already on broadband networks. And therefore, the startup ecosystem has a huge role to play. We recently did a trial in Pune and Ahmedabad. The amount of innovation that we saw coming in from even startups and small companies in that domain was extremely high. So I would say absolutely yes.
Can I add something on a personal level on this one, Sunanda? Okay.
Go ahead, Partha.
Okay. So one of the social side of activity that I do since I stepped down from my last role is working for rural women and informal sector women. Yeah. So this is the social part of it. And what we are doing is helping them be small SMEs and MSMEs. Yeah. Salt pan workers and things like that. Okay. So when they are sitting at the salt pan worker and the whole family is sitting there, how do they get linkage to education, to earning livelihood from that? So right now the connectivity is okay. They can do some things, but not everything. So if they had digital tools and they had 5G, the whole concept of being to have in the center for even education is done away with. Every MSME and every SME can look forward to how their business gets changed through this. Yeah, how they can ignite and how they can transform their businesses through this. I'm looking forward to working with 50,000 women entrepreneurs across India to say how they can benefit, and 5G will have a role to play. I am actually running for Nanikali for this event as in the Mumbai Marathon for this cause, for digital inclusion.
And more power to you, Partha, definitely for that.
I'll probably just add a small thing just to add on to what Partha was saying. You see, in the area of small and medium enterprises and businesses, there's an accelerated digital journey. And I'm saying as SHMR members, including my own company, Vodafone Idea, we put a lot of emphasis on how mobility can help collaboration, and therefore, using technology around IoT, connectivity, and cloud solutions, and security and software as services, we're able to improve the productivity of small and medium enterprises, and help them to be 24/7 engaged using multiple modes of customer engagement. So they are more valuable to their customers, and therefore their revenue streams go up and their productivity also goes up. This is just with the existing technology. With 5G, it'll only kind of add a new dimension or turbocharge it. So that would be just a small add-on.
Vineet, this question is to you. Even as the economy was perhaps somewhat coming back on track at the end of 2021, Omicron, of course, has delayed and waylaid a lot of those plans. And the ones who are worst hit are definitely India's small businesses, the MSMEs, SME startups, and also, contact services like your smaller contact services, your beauty parlors, your car rental services, all of these have been worst hit. For the MSMEs and SMEs who have logged in and are going to be watching the show on television as well, what is your message to them? How should they perhaps be looking at growth? What should they be doing to prepare for that growth? And, hopefully we'll see that coming in the second half of this year. And your advice really for them to be able to factor in all of these changes, even as they're happening as we speak.
Yes, Sunanda, I think you're absolutely right. The MSME sectors have been really badly hit, including all the hospitality, contact sectors, etc. And I think the larger challenge has been on the MS, which is the micro and the small, more so, because their access is even more limited. And the extension and the expansion of the ECLG scheme, the other benefits, the insurance that the government is now providing to MSMEs are all aspects that will help. But I think what MSMEs need to do themselves is think introspectively, because clearly costs are rising. So how can you manage costs? Which means that you need to start thinking about digitization a lot more. Look at making your books more and more cleaner by using digital technologies. Get into digital payment systems, because that will cut costs as well over time. Use the government has so many plans and so many facilities available for MSMEs. I think a lot of us don't know about it. So it's really very important to start understanding more, get a little bit more savvy in terms of what's happening. You have the TREADS platform, which is for receivables management, and so many other things that is happening, not just at the central level, but also at the state level. So I think a little bit more awareness will certainly start bridging some of this pain that is there. But nothing can beat demand creation. So as we are looking for the government to bring about more demand creation in some ways, and the economy recovering, I think then MSMEs will start getting their dues back.
Okay, I want to come back to you on the point that you were raising as far as the government, and speak a little about liquidity. But I just want to go to Partha, because we were talking about what more for MSMEs, and Partha, you were talking about IMP. And I want to talk about the M and the P of that. Even as we're talking about multimodal connectivity and, the government scheme, what will specifically, as far as the Gati Shakti is concerned, what more needs to be done to ensure that meaningful change is coming in for small businesses? What would you like to see? And specifically for SMEs and MSMEs, what would you like to see?
So this is a very, very involved question and needs a lot more ground level action planning. Okay, so what has happened is they've got chock-a-block because the demand has been missing. And whereas they got chock-a-block, they've not been able to repay their loans. They've not been able to meet. And therefore, many of them have been, in a sense, not called NPS, but the loans have been restructured. So what's happening is any cash which comes in is being sucked by the system. Maybe rightly so, but that is not allowing these SMEs and MSMEs to breathe. Okay. So this is where the problem is there. Okay. Now, what is the opportunity? When things like PM Gati Shakti plan comes, right? You are rolling out and providing framework infrastructure everywhere. When you are doing that, MSMEs can do a lot of small jobs in that entire frame. And therefore, this cash flow starts to become a reality. And therefore, their engine oil becomes available. And therefore, once again, whatever was not rolling, it starts to chug along. Okay. So this is clearly a very big boost in terms of PM Gati Shakti plan. And as we said, as it comes in, this will help. But I want to overlay the first point. Why did I mention? Because if they are not able to get out of this rut of the cash being sucked, they can't invest the small money needed to be invested to take advantage of PM Gati Shakti, and may have been done. Sure. So when you ask later about government support, this is probably one place where the banks and the government will have to come to help the MSMEs. Otherwise, they will not be able to take as good an advantage of the growth that is coming, which otherwise they can take. They have to get out of this rut, but PM Gati Shakti have a very great advantage pulling them out of this and making that cash flow come through. And once you start making, they can go back to having a seamless thing. And not just employment, but also business can come.
That wraps up part 1 of our masterclass special series that we're going to be doing all of the 10th edition of Leaders of Tomorrow. What's coming up on part 2? Here's a sneak peek. And we're going to end our show tonight with that.
On the government side, one clear aspect is demand creation.
The young people of today are nimble and they're willing to learn. I think that's the attitude they bring in.
Think digital, be digital, born digital. Just keep repeating this as you do your traditional business to come doing new business.